Welcome back to the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Hope you're doing well. It's a Friday night, May 22nd, 2020, and today we're going to take a look at the 10 first copies of Death or Glory. I'm not going to go through each copy individually, but I do have the first 10 here, and I'm riding it out till the end of the series. First of all, I want to say that I don't think I have anything from the corrections and retractions department today, so I think this is a very good sign. Maybe I'm getting a little better with everything that's going on with these recordings. So, moving right ahead here. First of all, I think this started, I want to say 2019, but it might have actually started in 2018. It's comic is written by Remender, legendary writer, producer. He seems like he's done about a little bit of everything: video games, movies, animation, TV shows, and of course comic books. And he's got so many titles to his name. He's a pretty amazing fella. So the artist on these, I believe on every single one of at least the first 10 issues, is the French legendary artist Bengal, or Bengal, however you want to say it. I'm soon giving it a little French accent there. Bengal, and it's spelled just like the tiger, Bengal. So, and he's seems to have done like a remarkable job on these. As you can see, the tones on these, it's very, very nice. It's kind of more light. A lot of the comics I've been looking at lately have been very, very dark colored. Just a lot of dark hues, and this has got a nice contrast. We're looking at a couple different covers here. Let's go up here. Show off a little bit of this work. Here's Glory. Her name's Glory Owen. She's the main character and title character, obviously. Here she's with a gremlin, and she's hightailing it with her Camaro. And I think it's like a 68 Super Sport or Rally Sport Camaro. I'm not sure exactly, but I think it's right in there. 67, 68. And the thing he does, the Bengal does, it looks like he uses photo references for his vehicles, but seems to draw everything else. And that's what it looks like to me. I mean, some of these cars look really sharp. If you see his picture of the police cruiser, the Crown Vics, it looks almost like a photograph. So I'm assuming that's what he's doing, just to get that more realistic punch. Each one of these issues, at least at the beginning, it's a different issue, is a different sub-story. The main plot is Glory is an orphan. Okay, it's kind of a repeating theme through a lot of these comic books that we do see. And the thing about that is she is alone, but she lives out in the desert in a small desert town. It's not really descriptive. It's somewhere out in California, somewhere out in the Mojave, I'm assuming. And the locals, they all kind of take care of each other. They're kind of very blue collar, and she has an adoptive, like uncle type guy named Red, who's dying of a liver failure. So her quest has become to find him money for a liver transplant or whatever, a liver donor. But first she's going to try money, and she's pretty desperate here. He's not doing real well. So it turns out that her ex-husband is a very wealthy slimeball, and he's working with the, I don't know what you would call it, like the body part mafia. They actually capture people and harvest their organs, and there's a number of people involved with this. So each issue, at least at the beginning, has to do with them going to a different town or a different facility and getting into trouble. There's a lot of action in all these. She's driven to try to save Red. That's her big push. She has commitment. to throughout this whole storyline. It's pretty well written. The dialogue's fun, and the criminals, the people dealing with the body parts, they're all very dangerous. They're all very unique. They all have their own quirks. So they're entertaining that, but they're very brutal. The first guy that she kind of comes up with that has his own little quirk is someone that uses weaponized liquid nitrogen on his assailants. He whips out the little hose, squirts their hands, squirts their head, and just cracks them open. So there's formidable opponents throughout the whole book, all the set of books, including her ex-husband. So let's get into the book a little bit. Like I'd mentioned before, it's kind of like desert blue-collar workers. This mysterious man comes in at closing time at a burger joint, orders 123 cheeseburgers because he's got part of a convoy out there. They don't really show you what the convoy is all about till a few issues later. They tell him no, he's not going to do it. He simply whips out the liquid nitrogen weapon and starts freezing some of the patrons and workers there. So we know there's somebody that's a foe that can be reckoned with, needs to be reckoned with. And here we just get real quick just who's in here, who has worked on this book. Remender, I'm assuming Bengal did all the colors and inks, and I don't think he's doing pencils. I think he's this whole thing's digital. And then we have a letterer, Wooten, and Gerner, who I'm not sure who, I'm not familiar with Wooten or Gerner. But as you can see, you get like the nice sunsets, some nice hues here. And here's what I mean about the Camaro being photo referenced. You can see it's really detailed. I would think it would take a very, very long time to freehand this. So I'm thinking he's having a little assistance on that. But all his drawings and everything of people and the backgrounds all seem to be pretty much drawings. I mean, they might be photo referenced too in some cases. I know that the cars look mostly like it. Okay. At one point, she also contemplates suicide and then realizes she's got a greater purpose. That's saving Red. So you can see the detail on the inside of the garage. And I'm assuming that at one point she wanted to be a race driver because she has this nice set of racing duds. And she's got a racing helmet. And here's Red. Take a look at, and this is when he's actually doing fairly well at this point. He is dying, but later on in the series, he is in bed and he is not doing so hot. He's barely moving. So you kind of get to meet some of the people in the town. She explains that they're her friends. Here's that Crown Vic I was telling you about. See, it looks almost like a photo. So I'm assuming that might be some kind of photo reference on that. And maybe even the house, but the characters all seem like they're pretty much regular art. I do like the colors on here. I think it really fits well with the desert sunsets and all. I should mention the police department, of course, is in cahoots as well with the local mafia. They're on the take, and they're doing a special run for them, carrying a briefcase of money, and somehow Glory Owen knows about it, and she wants to take them down. And there's a bunch of car crashes and everything else that kind of takes place. She gets the money. Unfortunately, the guy with the frozen liquid nitrogen freezes the case and destroys all the money on it. When it falls to the ground, it cracks open, and all the money just becomes shattered. But I mean, I'm telling you a little bit of the story there. There's just one episode after another of her trying to get money, trying to get organs. It ends up being, the last few issues have been her and a group of other people that are trying to help her as well and escape from this group and save their own organs, basically. They're being trailed all the way through the desert into Mexico. And there's a convoy of cars after them, cars, trucks, all kinds of different equipment. It gets a little bit ridiculous at times, almost like if you've seen Peter Jackson's version of The Hobbit, the first episode, where the dwarves and the hobbits are trying to escape the goblin caves, and the bridges and rocks just seem to fall right in the right places. They're running by, and as things just swing in their way. It's almost kind of like that. And Glory gets to a point where it almost seems like she's Domino. Domino just has probability on her side, doesn't get injured and whatnot. She just keeps going, and everybody else is meeting terrible fate. Also, her car must be made out of vibranium, because no matter how many times she crashes it just always looks perfect. Kind of like the Dukes of Hazzard General Lee vehicle, but you'd actually see that when they did a jump. You could actually see the frame bending and the fenders bending and getting a little crunched up. This Camaro never seems to really break down. I think there was one point it does break down, but she gets it fixed and it works perfectly. So that's a little bit unrealistic, but it is a comic book and it is enjoyable. It's been a good ride. I know a lot of people really love this comic. And I'll show you a little bit more. There you go. There's one of my favorite places is the old jet plane graveyard out in the Mojave. I think that's just a portion of it. But you can see that she's really taking the Camaro through its paces. Anyway, the videos run a little bit long. I just want to say that I do recommend this book. I saw the first 6 issues are out in trade paperback. The first issue of this was actually $4.99, and each preceding issue was $3.99, but the first one was had more pages. So I think it was probably worth the money. And let's be interesting to see how this story ends up. Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you for stopping by the Temple of Tomes with your host, Indie Comics Jones. Take care.